Rose, I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that we do?
What up, though? We get the people what they want.
Of course, we're going to talk about Tom Brady beating New England in New England. Of course, we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes' big day, but nothing is more important than you and I and the Buffalo kids in Buffalo going to the Bills game. I promised I would jump through a table. The second we got through a tailgate, the first thing Jalen Rose said is, who's got a table for this man to jump through? Raining, dreary, beers, going through the table.
How do you feel about that experience, Jacoby? I applaud you being a man of your word. Just talk us through that. Break that down. What do you see there?
Well, let me tell you, is this one lady was like, Jalen, the first, we get out of the Uber, Jalen's first thing is like, who's got a table? Who's got a table? I was like, Jay, I haven't even had a drink yet. Like, I gotta get warmed up. I gotta look at these different tables. But when I saw the table, not all tables are created equal. And that table had plastic framing, not metal framing. And when I saw that particular table, I was like, all right, I can do this. And there were people at the tailgate who were very concerned about me. They're like, you shouldn't do this, dog. They're like, don't do this. And I was like, I thought you guys do this all the time. Why do you look so concerned? And there it was. Got up on the cooler, jumped into the table.
Yeah.
And then I had to keep getting after the table. Because you can't just jump through.
What was the second? What is this part? What is this part?
You got to destroy the table. You smash the table.
Oh,
and then
man,
celebrate with my Bills Mafia brethren.
I got so many follow-up questions. Just keep running video while I ask all of these questions.
You gotta eat the table. You gotta eat the table.
Yes.
You got to.
Yes. So I have so many follow-up questions. We took a first-class flight to Buffalo. Mm-hmm. Jacoby and I shared a room like we were in college.
Yup. Roommates.
Absolutely. He promised me that he was going to prove to the people who only hear the show that he was actually a white guy.
Very white
So he said, I'm going to do things that you can't do, Jalen. I'm going to embrace my heritage and my people. You always talking about your culture? Well, this 60,000 people arena, this is my people. This is my culture. So as soon as we got there, no question, we got right out of the car. Gentleman offered me a nice bowl of broth, right? And a nice chicken. It was so good. And Jacoby said you hadn't had a drink. Did you ignore the 2 or 3 drinks that we had before we got to the game? Oh, well, I guess I shouldn't have said that.
Those don't count. Those were breakfast drinks.
Oh,
those were breakfast drinks.
Gosh, okay. So we get there, right? And for insurance purposes, the team and a lot of people don't want to embrace people like this willing to put their bodies at risk. But Jacoby was willing to do so. So we found a lady that was so very helpful. She set it up for us. She teed it up. Now, what about when you were about to jump off the car? Talk about that process.
They wouldn't let me jump off the car. I wanted to jump off the Jeep, and she's like, that's not my car. You can't stand on somebody's car that's not mine. And I was like, I can't even stand on the bumper? And she's like, no, that's an expensive vehicle. And I said, all right, I'll jump off the cooler then. But there was nothing worse than that feeling when you break the table and you're still suspended in the air, and you think that perhaps you didn't even succeed. You didn't even break the table. But finally, the weight of Jacoby collapsed the table. And there was also a football game. I don't know if you noticed that, Jalen Rose. There was also a football game there, and the Bills were dominant, putting themselves back as the class of the AFC East. Texas didn't even score a point. Texas didn't even score a point. Davis Mills was having trouble moving the ball, and the Bills were having no trouble whatsoever with their opponent. Big shout to Buffalo and the Bills.
Shout to the Bills Mafia defense. Had a shutout. That's always impressive in an NFL game. And also it's great to see Allen and Diggs hook up. But since it was like 40-0 and this game wasn't really exciting, let's talk about what was exciting. We didn't have tickets initially. And so we had to call Conway the Machine, who was on the field catching passes from Josh Allen. Conway the Machine was on the field. He came to the gate, left to come and grab us. And you know what happened? He took us into the arena. And as we walk into the arena, Conway the Machine has a suite, an executive suite with his name on it. at the
all the
Buffalo
M&Ms
Bills.
you can eat, all the
No
gummy
doubt.
worms you can eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, he took care of. I ate all of the popcorn. I ate
It was
all
great.
of the chips. We had shots on shots on shots, and he even taught me something. He said, "Toast." What did he say? This
you
is
love
for
yourself.
If you love yourself. It made me feel so good
It
about
was
it,
the
right?
absolute
Maybe-
best. Big shout to Griselda. Big shout to everybody in Buffalo
It's
who took
more.
such great
It's
care
more.
of us.
It's more.
Big shout to
What about
Jalen
Saturday
Rose
night?
for not having tickets to the game, not having hotel rooms booked. Just we're sharing the same room. It was a true Buffalo experience. Big shout to everybody that took care of us. We have to move on to the rest of the NFL weekend,
Dog,
Mr.
but hold
Rose.
on.
No,
What about
I'm moving
Saturday
on.
night, dog? We got a chance to see a Griselda show. Benny the Butcher, West Side Gun. We saw like a 3-hour throwback show. I went to West Side Gun's store that day. It was a full experience. Shout to our family in Buffalo. We'll
Jalen,
be back soon.
You
maybe
and
for
I
Monday night.
work very hard, and we get a direct deposit every week. And for some reason, we thought it was a good idea to wager some of that hard-earned money on the Lions winning a football game. I'm never doing that again. We really thought the Lions were going to beat the Bears after what the Bears did the previous week against the Browns, and Justin Fields didn't look right. Everything looked right against the Lions. The Lions are just like deodorant. They make everything look and smell better.
So I'm happy for Justin Fields because I really believe he got what it takes to be a special quarterback. And you and I have already declared him the greatest quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears. But let's just talk about this. The Lions were not only a +3.5, Jacoby and I actually bet that they would win the game.
Outright.
And so
That was
imagine,
so dumb.
we're in Conway Suite, right? Amongst family and friends, Armani Caesar's there, and we look up at the score, and it's 14-0.
In the first quarter.
And then everybody looked at me and was like, wait. You still root for the Lions? I'm like, yeah. We could not, like Jacoby, we wagered our hard-earned money on my hometown
On
team.
the Lions to win the game. Why did we do that? It was so dumb. Well, it was a good game for the Bears. Justin Fields did look good. Their offense could move the ball, and anyone can stop the Lions. But Jalen, the marquee game of Week 4 was the Sunday night game between the Patriots and the Bucs, and it did not disappoint. Came down to the last minute where Mac Jones was the one moving the ball, putting his team in a position to and it was a Doink 56-yard field goal from Folk. Mr. Rose, I was surprised by how well Mac Jones and the Patriots played in this one. What do you think?
But that was an extra long field goal attempt in those conditions. And they weren't playing against the Lions where miraculously 66-yard field goals win games. That was a long attempt. But shout to Mac Jones in particular on that final touchdown drive. It was masterful. In particular at the goal line, how they really just undressed the Buccaneers defense the entire time. But I know you saw my nephew Golston out there representing the D, representing Michigan State. I know you saw him get a sack. I know you saw what he did, Jacoby. Detroit, it's our turn, baby. Yeah! I know you saw it. That's what we do. But shout out to Mac Jones. And I'm here to put some respect on one Bill Belichick's name. You know why? I'm going to do it for him because people want to judge how long he hugged Tom Brady. Like, he's staying true to his character. Bill Belichick has not been the fluffy hug and kiss lovey-dovey kind of personality for public consumption ever. They've accomplished some amazing things. It's okay for him to be closer to Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady to be closer to Josh McDaniels, his coordinator, then Bill Belichick, their authoritative figure, the head coach of the team. It was great to see Tom Brady return, to see him celebrate it. Obviously, the Bucs found a way to win, and the Patriots have their future at quarterback. The Bucs are still a contending favorite to possibly repeat.
Absolutely, and there was a lot of discussion about the Chiefs. People were very critical about the Chiefs, and they answered their critics in a game against the Eagles. They scored 42 points on the Eagles. However, the defense still can't stop anybody because the Eagles were moving the ball against this Chiefs defense. Are you concerned or encouraged by this Chiefs win?
I'm encouraged by the Chiefs win, and it was how they did it. Patrick Mahomes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdown passes. How about the cheetah? 1, 2, 3. Oh, you know what? At some point, I was like, you know what? The Kansas City Chiefs were playing in fast forward. But then I look on the other side, our guy, my guy, Jalen Hurts.
Look good.
You can say whatever you want to say about the Eagles' struggles this year. They got a quarterback. And if they don't appreciate him, I appreciate him. And I'm pretty sure another team would appreciate him because he looked good. And he wasn't playing defense. You know how much I love my guy, Big Play Slay, former Lion. But the cheetah was out there going crazy.
He really was.
And he was always ready to go and fast forward. Yesterday was his day to get active.
Look at the underhanded pass for a touchdown from Patrick Mahomes. He's just showing off.
That is showing out.
Throws, like everything was working for the Chiefs offense. The Chiefs defense is going to be a concern when they play against better competition later this season and in the playoffs. Mr. Rose, we adopted the Cardinals last year as our team.
I am. And by the way, I was watching this game and I was thinking, I got a new nickname for Kyler Murray that I want to affectionately call him. And watching his personality being small in stature, seemingly out there playing with giants and making them look foolish, but being really angry and tough while he doing it. That's Joe Pesci right there. That's
Pesci.
Who he is. No doubt.
I didn't see that coming.
No doubt. That's Joe Pesci. You know how he play the roles in a movie? You get out of line, you get whacked, and every time his character shows up to do the job, that's Kyler Murray. Because all of us were ready, myself included, we're ready to crown the Rams.
Yep.
I saw him get ran on yesterday. Wasn't Edmonds run 10 yards a carry? Did I see that happening?
And not only that,
Connor
AJ
score
Green.
2 touchdowns? Did Connor
AJ
score 2
Green is
touchdowns?
back. Like AJ Green going to the Cardinals did not make headlines, but he is every single week. It seems like he has 5 catches for 100 yards every week.
Well, last year he was coming back from an injury, and they had Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow got injured. And I was trying to wonder if he was washed or not. So he ended up going there, resurrecting himself. Our guy D-Hop is going to always be a threat, but anytime you're able to run against a team that has Aaron Donald on the defensive line on the other side, extremely impressive. And so, yes, whatever you're selling with the Cardinals stock, because they have Joe Pesci, I'm buying.
I love the Joe Pesci nickname. 2 other teams in the NFC that look to be Super Bowl contenders faced off yesterday in Week 4. And, of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks and the Niners. And it was Russell Wilson and the Seahawks getting a much-needed win in the Bay Area. What do you think about the Seahawks?
I think Metcalf is a locomotive, literally. That's one thing. The other thing is, as we start talking about like game-changing players in the league, how about the fact that Russell Wilson, at this point of his career, has 100 wins. Only Peyton Manning has had that number of wins in their first 10 seasons, and he's never gotten a single MVP vote. How about that?
We discuss rookie quarterbacks all the time on this program, and one that we don't discuss that much is Trey Lance, who finally got an opportunity because Garoppolo went down with a calf injury. He looked pretty good. What do you think of Trey Lance?
His size and stature and the way he glides in a lot of ways, it reminds me of Colin Kaepernick, in particular playing for that team. Because you and I were there when Kaepernick played against the 49ers played against the Ravens in the Super Bowl. And I was just thinking, once he got his opportunity, being a dual threat, something that they haven't had since he was under center for that team. He just gives them a different element than Garoppolo does based on his athleticism.
Well, an athletic quarterback they certainly have in Baltimore with the Ravens. They played the Broncos, and Lamar Jackson did what Lamar Jackson does. What do you think about him throwing and running all over the Broncos?
I just love the fact that the quarterback position has evolved to take advantage of strengths at the quarterback position that used to be considered weaknesses, like Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson's height, the way Lamar Jackson is able to run. like being able to take advantage of these players really puts the defense at such a crazy disadvantage when these guys get going. Like, he's spreading the ball around now. Like, Lamar Jackson, people always talk about his running because he's so very spectacular about it. But he's also throwing the ball and doing it with accuracy and efficiency as well. And the Denver Broncos always play tough defensively.
They did, but Lamar Jackson reestablished himself as one of the best quarterbacks in not just the AFC, but the NFL. And Mr. Rose, there are two veteran quarterbacks that faced off yesterday that seem to be headed in two very different directions. And of course, I'm talking about Ben Roethlisberger and that man, Aaron Rodgers. Jalen, what do you think about Rodgers playing so well and Roethlisberger looking like he might be at the end of his career?
And to me, that's the bigger story. The Pittsburgh Steelers started off 11-0 last year, and they basically struggled since then, and they continue to struggle running the football. Big Ben has never been mobile, but his ability to kind of shrug his shoulders and be big in the pocket and throw tacklers off, now they sticking like Velcro to that jersey, dog. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Pittsburgh Steelers remedy this. Do you now turn around and bench Big Ben at this point of his career? Claypool wasn't in there. Juju Smith-Schuster came back on a one-year deal. He's not lighting it up so far this year. They had to watch Connor go elsewhere and score 2 touchdowns yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see what Mike Tomlin does.
If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, do you try to go with Dwayne Haskins over Ben Roethlisberger at this junction in the season?
No, not at this juncture of the season. Because once you do that move, you can't go back to Ben, and he's established so much equity with that franchise, being there almost 2 decades. I think it's, and respectfully, at this point of his career, with his history of injury, you don't anticipate he's going to play all 17 games anyway. So based on that, you know you're going to get an opportunity to get Haskins in there if you want to try it.
There are a lot of good teams in the NFC, and we discussed Aaron Rodgers all off season long. And after they lost to the Saints, I wrote them off in week 1, but they look pretty good. Are they the top of the class in the NFC, in your opinion?
You know what I like about the NFC? You get a chance to ask that question about a few teams.
A lot of
asking
handful.
it about the Rams. You know the Dallas Cowboys are going to throw a parade today. We asked it about the Cardinals. You talk about the Buccaneers, the defending champions, the Green Bay Packers, as you just acknowledged. Absolutely. They have Aaron Rodgers. They have Devontae Adams. They have Jones in the backfield. And Matt LaFleur needs to start getting his credit. He needs to start getting the love that I see from Sean McVay and Shanahan. I think he's in the category of those guys, and Aaron Rodgers' continued greatness helps elevate that conversation.
Jalen, we always overhype the Cowboys in the media. It's just something that we do in this country. However, the Cowboys are living up to the hype. They looked really good against the previously undefeated Panthers. We'll talk about America's team right after this. You're watching J&J. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Anthony Rose. We always overhype the Cowboys here in sports media, but they might actually deserve it. They looked good against the previously unbeaten Panthers. What are they doing in Dallas today?
Overhype. Let me tell you something. You didn't get the news? It's breaking news at the bottom of the screen right now. There's a championship parade taking place in Dallas today. You didn't know?
After every win. After every win, they throw a parade.
Jerry Jones is getting his first championship since Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson. It's happening today. If you leave this show right now, you probably could catch the parade and the float. In all honesty, I'm just happy for Dak. Because I remember arguing about him getting his bread a couple of years ago when Carson Wentz got his, when Kirk Cousins got his, a couple other people were getting taken care of, and then he got injured, and then he rehabbed, and then they got more weapons. They already had Cooper, but look at Schultz out there making plays.
Yep.
CeeDee Lamb out there making plays. They're blocking for Zeke. The offensive line looks really good. Diggs is balling. We saw one Diggs brother in Buffalo. The other Diggs brother is crushing him, making a name for himself, not only as a corner, but he playing a lot of nickel and being really physical out there as well.
Yep. Jalen, this is the Dak and Zeke that we were supposed to have. And this is the defense that they were supposed to have. Their defense looked tremendous, as you mentioned. Diggs, I believe, has 5 interceptions in just 4 games. This is the Dallas Cowboys that we expected them to be, but it's still early in the season. Will they collapse like they always do?
I don't believe the word collapse is in the vocabulary of this year's team, and here's why. The schedule. Did you mention that Christian McCaffrey wasn't playing? He wasn't playing. And by the way, and if you drafted in fantasy, he went, let me see, number 1. So you're going to miss that guy, just like you're going to miss tomorrow at 4 p.m. on ESPN2.
This just in, Tom Brady gets the best of Bill Belichick, barely, in their battle Sunday night.